I, 32M, have been married to my wife, Kate, 30F, for 4 years, together for 9. Our relationship has been amazing, loving, and supportive. We have good communication, hardly ever argue, and our bedroom life has gone from strength to strength over the years. We discussed cheating in the past, and I was always clear that we would be over if it ever happened. Kate went home to visit her family last weekend, which was fairly normal. Before she left on the Friday night, we had a minor argument about keeping the house tidy so our communication was limited on Saturday, but I knew she was going out to meet some friends at a bar. I trusted her 100%, so didn't think anything of it. Before I fell asleep, I texted her saying that I hope she had a nice night. When I woke up on Sunday morning, I had a missed call from Kate at 4 a.m., so I immediately called her to check if she was okay, but no answer.
According to their records, the club owners
After a
had
few hours, I
CCTV
tried again a few
installed
times,
back.
but still no
We can
answer.
just check the footage at the time when we know
Around
the
an
phone was
hour
on site
later, I got a
and see who
message
was
saying
there.
she was fine and was driving back
But
soon.
this system
Kate
is
got
an
home
antique.
late
It's
afternoon
not
and
even
looked
online,
awful.
so we'll need
She
the
had clearly
actual
been
security
crying,
tape
was not
from their
wearing
office.
any makeup unusual for her, and looked like a shell of a person. I knew right away something was wrong, but she wouldn't let me hug her and would barely speak. I sat her down on the couch and made her some tea. I gently encouraged her to tell me what was wrong, and she burst into uncontrollable tears for at least 10 minutes while I was trying to comfort her. She then proceeded to tell me, stopping every few words, that she had slept with someone last night after the bar. At that moment, something in my brain broke. I can't describe it any other way. I immediately got up and jumped in my car and drove off. I went to a park and walked around it for about an hour. Kate was calling my phone constantly, and I turned it off. When I got home, I grabbed 2 suitcases from the garage and went to our bedroom. I threw some of Kate's clothes and shoes into them and left them by the front door. Kate was lying on the floor in the living room, curled up into a ball, sobbing. I called her best friend who lives nearby and told her that Kate needed a place to stay and a ride to her place, and that Kate could explain everything to her later. I told Kate I was leaving for an hour and that her friend was coming to pick her up. She grabbed onto my legs trying to stop me from leaving. When I returned home again, Kate was gone and so were the cases. On Monday, with a clearer head, I answered one of Kate's many calls and told her that I needed her to send me an email with as much details as possible of that night, and if she leaves anything out, there will be no hope of reconciliation. I received this email on Monday night, but still haven't opened it. Since then, everyone has been trying to contact me, but I have just been working, exercising, and sleeping. One of her friends turned up at my house with an attitude demanding an explanation. I told her to speak to Kate and closed the door in her face. I have also been speaking to divorce lawyers, have moved money into separate accounts, and blocked Kate and all of her friends on everything. Everything I have done since I found out seems like I have been on autopilot. I don't feel angry, upset, or overly emotional. Just numb. Kate posted a note through the door yesterday asking me to meet tomorrow, but I'm conflicted. Should I meet her? Will it change anything? Is there any point in trying to reconcile? Kate came to the house yesterday, and when I opened the door, she looked terrible. She tried to hug me and started mumbling apologies, but I stopped her and we sat down to talk. I started by telling Kate that I would be recording the audio of the conversation, and she agreed. I then asked her to explain what happened and told her that I haven't read the email she sent. Kate said she had been at the bar with 2 friends I know and liked both of them, and told me what she had to drink. I was surprised at how little she drank, because it was the same amount we would normally drink when going for dinner, a few glasses of wine and a cocktail. She admitted she was only slightly tipsy. One of her friends, Sarah, has a younger brother, Max 27M, who came to pick him up around midnight. It's a running joke in their group that Max has had major crush on Kate since high school, and I had heard them joke about this. The 4 of them went to get some food, and Max then dropped each one off until it was just him and Kate. Kate said she didn't want him to drive the 20 minutes to her parents' place after working all day, so would just order an Uber from his apartment. She went into his apartment to order the Uber but couldn't get one. Max suggested she should crash in his bed and he would take the sofa. He would then drop her off in the morning. Kate refused and continued to try to find an Uber. They were sitting on Max's bed and he kissed her. She kissed him back and they ended up having sex. She confirmed again that it was consensual. After that, she broke down crying from guilt and Max took her home. She cried for another hour, then tried to call me to tell me what she had done. We had to stop a number of times because Kate kept breaking down and crying hysterically. She told me it was a huge mistake. She got caught up in the moment. It was terrible. She only loves me, blah, blah, blah. After she was done, I told her that her story didn't make sense, but it didn't matter at this stage because I was done. This caused another breakdown. I told her I was going to continue with the divorce preparations, but for the next month we would be separated with no contact. I also told her that we would both remain faithful, would get a full STD panel, and she would tell our mutual friends and family what happened. If she sticks to these conditions, I would be willing to meet again to see if there was any way forward other than divorce. She enthusiastically agreed to this, but made it clear that she did not expect me to stay faithful to her. I know many of you will criticize this decision, but I need to be sure that divorce is the right option after I have had time to process everything that has happened. I am still 99% sure that is where we are heading, but I need to be 100% certain. I never thought I'd end up living in a house with someone like Lily. When my dad told me he was marrying her mom, it felt like my world was flipped upside down. My dad had been single for so long, and suddenly I was supposed to have a new family. At 16, I was set in my ways, and having a new stepsister my age felt like a bad sitcom plot. The day they moved in was chaotic. Boxes piled everywhere, and the house felt like a maze. I tried to be welcoming, but Lily made it clear from the start she didn't want to be here any more than I wanted her to be. She was aloof, always with her nose in a book or her headphones on. I was the opposite, always on the move, hanging out with friends, playing sports. Our first few weeks together were a nightmare. We clashed over everything: chores, TV time, even which side of the bathroom sink was whose. I couldn't understand her and she couldn't stand me. My dad and her mom, Helen, tried to mediate, but it only made things worse. We were like oil and water. One evening, after a particularly heated argument over the remote, I stormed out of the house. I ended up at a park nearby, sitting on a bench, fuming. To my surprise, Lily showed up a few minutes later. She sat down silently, and for a while, we just sat there, the tension hanging heavy in the air. I hate that, she finally said, breaking the silence. I hate that our parents just expect us to get along like nothing's changed. Yeah, well, it sucks for both of us, I replied, not looking at her. I didn't choose this, she said softly. I didn't choose to have a new family. Her words hit me hard. For the first time, I saw her not as the enemy, but as someone who was just as lost and angry as I was. We started talking, really talking for the first time. She told me about her dad who'd left when she was young and how her mom had struggled to make ends meet. I shared my own story about losing my mom to cancer when I was 10 and how my dad had been my rock ever since. As the weeks turned into months, our hostility gradually faded. We still had our differences, but we started to find common ground. We both loved old movies and spent weekends binge-watching classics. We discovered a mutual passion for hiking and would explore trails together, finding solace in nature. The more time we spent together, the more our bond grew. Then came the secrets. It started with a box we found in the attic while cleaning. Inside were old letters and photos that hinted at a past neither of us knew about. Our parents had a history together that went back long before they met us. They'd been high school sweethearts, separated by circumstances only to find each other again later in life. But there was more hints of a scandal, a secret that had torn them apart all those years ago. Lily and I became obsessed with uncovering the truth. We spent hours in the attic piecing together the fragments of their past. The more we learned, the closer we became. Our late-night sleuthing sessions turned into heartfelt conversations, and before we knew it, our relationship had shifted from friendship to something deeper. I found myself falling for her, and to my surprise, she felt the same. Our first kiss was unexpected but electric. It happened one night while we were going through another box of old letters. Our hands brushed and we looked at each other, the air between us charged with unspoken feelings. Without thinking, I leaned in and she didn't pull away. That kiss changed everything. But our happiness was short-lived. A few weeks later, Lily came to me, tears in her eyes. She was pregnant. The news hit me like a freight train. We were just kids, barely able to navigate our new family dynamics, and now this. We decided to keep it a secret at first, unsure of how our parents would react. But as the weeks went by, it became clear we couldn't hide it forever. We decided to tell them together. It was a Sunday afternoon, and we called a family meeting. The tension was palpable as we sat in the living room, our parents looking at us expectantly. "We need to talk," I started, my voice shaking. "There's something you need to know." Lily squeezed my hand, and I took a deep breath. Lily's pregnant. And ... we're in love. We want to get married. The silence that followed was deafening. My dad's face went pale, and Helen looked like she'd been slapped. For a moment, no one spoke. Then all hell broke loose. "What the hell were you thinking?" my dad yelled, his face red with anger. "You're kids. You don't know what you're getting into." Helen was crying, her hands covering her face. "How could you let this happen? How could you be so irresponsible?" Lily stood up, her voice calm but firm. "We know this is a shock, but we're serious. We love each other, and we're having a baby. We want to make this work." The argument raged on for hours, emotions running high. But in the end, our parents realized there was no turning back. We were determined to stay together, to make a life for ourselves and our baby. The months that followed were challenging. We faced judgment from friends and family, struggled with the realities of impending parenthood, and navigated the complexities of our new family dynamic. But through it all, we had each other. Our love, forged in the fires of conflict and secrets, grew stronger every day. When our daughter, Emma, was born, it felt like a new beginning. Holding her in my arms, I knew we'd made the right choice. Our parents slowly came around, their initial anger giving way to acceptance and eventually support. Our journey was far from over, but we faced it together, united by love and the secrets that have brought us together. And as I looked at Lily and Emma, I knew we'd overcome any obstacle that came our way.